The hall was shining with golden lights. Soft music filled the air, blending with the quiet hum of excited conversations. Flowers of white and red lined the grand entrance. Guests whispered and laughed, their eyes sparkling with anticipation. Today was supposed to be a happy day, a day of celebration. A day when his father, the man he had always looked up to, was getting married. But standing quietly near the corner of the hall, leaning against the cool marble wall, was a boy whose heart was not at peace. He was tall for his age, with eyes that had learned to notice details most people ignored. His father had always been a strong man, a man of pride and authority. But today, the boy felt a strange tension in the air, something he could not name. He glanced around, his gaze stopping at the bride. She smiled politely at the guests, her eyes sparkling, yet there was something off, something that made the boy's stomach twist. He remembered his father's words from earlier that morning. "She is perfect for us. You'll see, son. Trust me." But the boy did not trust his instincts. There was a subtle unease in the way the bride moved. She avoided certain people, and her laughter sounded forced. Her hands shook ever so slightly when she held her bouquet. The boy's heart thumped faster. He had a feeling that this wedding was more than just a celebration, it was a secret waiting to explode. As the music changed and the guests took their seats, the boy's eyes never left her. He noticed a small, folded piece of paper sticking out from her purse, hidden but visible to someone who looked carefully. He felt a chill run down his spine. Something was there, something she did not want anyone to see. The boy's mind raced. Should he ignore it? After all, it was not his secret to uncover. But he could not. He had always believed that truth mattered, even if it hurt. And he had a strange feeling that if he ignored this, the consequences could be devastating. The ceremony began. Flowers were passed down the aisle, and guests leaned forward with smiles and excitement. The boy's father stood at the altar, looking proud, his eyes searching for approval from everyone around. The bride's dress shimmered in the golden light, her smile wide and perfect. But her eyes darted around nervously, avoiding his father's gaze for a second too long. The boy's thoughts went back to the brief conversation he had overheard earlier that day. He had been near the kitchen when two servants whispered about a letter, a secret that could ruin everything. He had frozen when he heard her name mentioned. Could it be the same secret? The one now partially hidden in her bag? He clenched his fists. His father had always taught him to stand for what was right. If this secret was dangerous, if it could hurt anyone, he could not stay silent. And yet, he hesitated. The hall was full of people, all eyes on the altar. If he acted now, it would cause a scene that could shame his father or destroy the bride's reputation. But the unease in his heart grew stronger. The boy took a deep breath. He needed to know the truth before it was too late. Guests whispered, unaware of the storm brewing in the corner. The boy's mother had died years ago, leaving a quiet emptiness in his life. Since then, he had learned to read people, to notice the small details others missed. And now, he could feel the tension like a cold wind brushing over his skin. Something was wrong, and he needed to uncover it. The bride turned slightly, almost as if she sensed someone watching her. Their eyes met for a brief second, and the boy felt a shiver run down his spine. Her smile did not reach her eyes. There was fear there, a secret she desperately wanted to keep hidden. As the officiant began speaking, the boy's mind raced faster. He imagined the chaos that could follow if the truth came out in front of everyone. He imagined his father's face, shocked, angry, or worse, hurt. He imagined the whispers spreading through the hall, the guests staring, judging. And yet, he could not look away. He had to know. A sudden movement caught his attention. The bride leaned towards one of the guests, whispering something quickly, then pulling back, her face pale. The boy's heart skipped a beat. She was hiding something, and she was nervous. His instincts screamed at him, "Do not wait. Watch. Learn. Prepare." He stepped forward slightly, careful not to attract attention. His eyes scanned the guests, noting anyone who might know more about her secret. But everyone seemed oblivious, caught up in the joy of the ceremony. Only he seemed to notice the tension, the subtle signs of fear in her movements. Time seemed to slow. The music, the flowers, the whispers all faded as the boy's focus sharpened. He had made a silent decision. If this secret was dangerous, if it could hurt anyone, he would not stay silent. He would act. Not now, perhaps, but soon. He had to gather evidence, understand the truth, and protect his family. As the bride reached the altar, her hand trembling slightly as she held his father's arm, the boy noticed something else, her eyes, darting to a small, dark figure at the back of the hall. She looked panicked, almost as if she was afraid someone would reveal her secret. The boy's heart pounded. This was it, the moment when everything could change. The music swelled, the guests leaned forward, and his father smiled, proud and unaware. The boy's mind raced through all the possibilities. What if he was wrong? What if this secret was harmless? But the small piece of paper in her bag, the fear in her eyes, the nervous whispers, something told him he was not wrong. He took a deep breath and clenched his fists. He would wait for the right moment, the perfect opportunity to reveal what he had discovered. He would not let anyone get hurt. His father deserved the truth. And no secret, no matter how well hidden, would stay buried while he could stop it. The ceremony continued, voices rising and falling with the rhythm of the music. Guests smiled, unaware of the storm waiting in the wings. The boy's eyes never left the bride. He watched, he waited, he prepared. And in that moment, he knew one thing with certainty: today, everything could change. Something was coming. Something no one expected. And he, the boy who had always stood in the shadows, was the only one ready to face it. The hall was filled with light, music, and laughter. But in the boy's heart, a shadow had fallen, a shadow of secrets, fear, and the truth waiting to be revealed. And just like that, the unexpected arrival had begun. The ceremony was moving forward smoothly. Guests clapped softly, children whispered, and the air smelled of roses and candles. To everyone, it was a perfect moment. To everyone, but not to him. The boy sat stiffly, his eyes fixed on the bride. She looked beautiful in her white gown, but to him, her beauty was only a mask. Behind her calm smile, he could see fear hiding. She was nervous, too nervous for a bride on her wedding day. Every detail struck him. The way she squeezed the bouquet so tightly her knuckles turned pale. The way her eyes flickered toward the back of the hall every few minutes. And the folded paper in her purse, still half visible, still untouched. His heartbeat quickened each time his eyes returned to it. The boy's mind would not rest. His instincts told him something was wrong. But what was it? What was she hiding? Earlier that day, he had overheard the servants talking in hurried whispers. One of them had said, "If that letter comes out, the whole wedding will collapse." At first, he thought it was just gossip. But now, seeing the bride's strange behavior, he was sure it was real. His father stood tall at the altar, smiling with pride. He looked younger than ever, filled with happiness. He trusted her completely. The boy's heart hurt at the thought. What if his father was walking into a trap? The officiant spoke in a calm voice, his words echoing across the hall. "Do you take this man?" The bride nodded with a shaky smile. The guests sighed happily. But the boy's eyes narrowed. He caught the flicker of fear in her eyes again, and this time, she looked directly at him, just for a second. That glance was sharp, filled with warning, almost begging him to stay quiet. But he could not. The boy shifted in his seat, his hands trembling. He had to know the truth. Quietly, he slipped away from his row, walking toward the side of the hall. Nobody noticed, everyone was too focused on the couple. He reached a place where the bride's purse rested on a chair. He looked around, no one was watching. With shaking fingers, he pulled the folded paper halfway out, just enough to read a line. His breath caught. The words were simple but heavy. A name. A date. And a phrase that froze him completely: already married. His heart dropped into his stomach. He quickly pushed the paper back into the purse, his mind spinning. Already married? What did that mean? Could it be real? Could she truly be hiding another life? He stepped back, almost stumbling. The world around him blurred for a moment. His father's voice, the officiant's words, the soft music, it all sounded distant. If this letter was true, then his father was about to marry someone who already belonged to another man. The boy's chest tightened. He wanted to shout right then, to run to his father and warn him. But doubt clawed at him. What if it was a mistake? What if he misunderstood? What if exposing this secret in front of everyone destroyed his father's happiness forever? He could not decide. His hands shook, his heart pounded. The weight of the truth pressed down on him like a stone. Then, something else happened. From the corner of his eye, he saw a man slip into the hall. He was tall, with dark eyes and a scar across his cheek. He did not look like a guest. He did not smile or clap. He stood at the back, watching the bride with an intensity that chilled the boy's blood. The bride saw him too. For a brief second, her smile cracked. She almost dropped her bouquet. Her lips parted, and her face turned pale. The boy saw the fear that flashed across her eyes when she looked at the man. Who was he? The boy's mind screamed with questions. The letter. The stranger. The fear in her eyes. It was all connected, he was sure of it. The officiant's voice cut through the silence. Do you promise to stay true, in love and in faith, until the end of your days? The hall held its breath, waiting for her answer. The boy leaned forward, his body tense, ready to move. His heart screamed at him, this was his moment. If he stayed silent, his father would step into a life built on lies. If he spoke, the wedding would shatter, and everyone would know the truth. The bride opened her mouth to answer. And then the boy stood up. Wait! His voice rang across the hall, sharp and clear. Every head turned toward him. The music stopped. The guests gasped. The officiant froze. His father spun around, eyes wide in shock. The boy's chest rose and fell as he pointed at the bride. His voice trembled, but his words were strong. She's hiding something. She's not who you think she is. The hall erupted into whispers. Guests leaned forward, shocked. Some covered their mouths. Others turned to the bride in disbelief. His father's face darkened, confusion and anger mixing in his eyes. What are you saying? The boy's hands shook. His throat felt dry. He could not reveal everything, not yet. Not without proof. But he could not stay silent either. She has a secret, he said firmly. A secret that could ruin everything. The bride's eyes filled with panic. Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but no words came out. The man at the back of the hall stepped forward slowly, his eyes never leaving her. The tension thickened. Guests shifted nervously, sensing something far more serious than a childish outburst. The boy's father clenched his fists. Is this true? He asked, his voice low and dangerous. The bride's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. Her face turned pale, her body trembling. For a moment, it seemed she might deny it. But then, her knees gave way. She collapsed onto the floor, gasping, her bouquet scattering across the aisle. The hall went silent. She whispered something, her voice barely audible. But the boy heard it. Everyone close enough heard it. I never wanted you to find out, not like this. The guests gasped again. His father staggered backward, his face filled with disbelief. The boy's chest tightened, his fears confirmed. The secret was real. And this was only the beginning. The hall was no longer filled with music. Instead, it was filled with gasps, whispers, and heavy silence. The bride lay on the floor, her white gown spread across the aisle, her bouquet scattered like broken pieces of a dream. The boy stood frozen, his chest rising and falling quickly. He had not wanted to cause this much chaos, but the truth had forced itself out. He looked at his father, but his father's face was unreadable, caught between confusion, anger, and fear. Get her up, one of the guests shouted. Several women rushed forward, helping the bride to her feet. She looked pale, trembling, her lips still parted as though words wanted to escape but could not. Her eyes avoided the boy, avoided his father, avoided everyone. The man at the back of the hall took a step closer. His presence was cold, commanding. Nobody knew who he was, but his sharp gaze was fixed on the bride, and she could not bring herself to look at him. The boy's father finally spoke, his voice shaking. "What is the meaning of this?" He looked at his son first. "Why would you interrupt? What are you talking about?" The boy swallowed hard. His hands trembled, but his voice was steady. "She's hiding something, father. I found proof. She's not who she says she is." Gasps rippled through the hall. Guests whispered, their excitement turning into sharp curiosity. The bride finally raised her eyes, tears shining. "Please," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Not here. Not like this." But her words only deepened the suspicion. The boy's father stepped closer to her, his eyes narrowed. "Answer me. Is there something you have not told me?" Her lips trembled. She looked at him, then at the boy, then at the man standing in the back. Her body shook as though the weight of her secret was crushing her. The officiant stepped back, unsure of what to do. The hall was no longer a place of celebration. It was a battlefield of silence and unspoken truths. The boy's heart pounded. He wanted to protect his father. He wanted to speak the truth he had seen written on the folded paper. But something inside him stopped him. He could not destroy everything in one breath. He had to give her the chance to speak. His father grabbed her arm, not roughly, but firmly. "Tell me the truth." The man at the back cleared his throat. His voice was deep, commanding. "She cannot. Because the truth will destroy everything you thought was real." All eyes turned toward him. A stranger, unknown, uninvited, yet speaking as though he owned the room. He walked forward slowly, each step echoing like thunder. The bride's eyes widened with terror. "Stop," she whispered. Her voice was weak, broken. "Please don't." The boy's father's eyes hardened. "Who are you?" The man's gaze shifted to the bride, then to the boy, then finally to the father. He gave a cold smile. "I am the reason this wedding should never happen." The guests gasped again. The whispers grew louder. Some stood to see better. The bride shook her head, tears falling. "Don't do this. Please, not here. Not in front of everyone." But the man ignored her. His voice was sharp, cutting through the room. "She already belongs to me." The hall erupted. Guests stood, shouting, whispering, gasping. Some laughed in disbelief, others covered their mouths in shock. The boy's father froze, his face turning pale. His hand slipped from her arm. "What did you say?" The man's eyes narrowed. "She is my wife." The boy's breath caught in his throat. The letter. The date. The words "already married." They were real. The bride broke down, covering her face with her hands. Her body shook as sobs escaped her lips. I never wanted you to know like this," she whispered. I thought I could escape it. I thought I could start again." The boy's father staggered back, his face twisted in pain. The guests were no longer whispering, they were demanding answers. The officiant stepped aside, powerless. The boy stepped forward, his small voice trying to cut through the storm. "Father, I saw the paper. It was true. She's already married." His father turned to him, his eyes filled with anger and heartbreak. "You knew?" The boy's lips trembled. "I didn't want to believe it. But yes." The bride dropped to her knees, her tears staining her gown. She reached out toward his father, her voice broken. "I love you. I swear, I love you. I only wanted to escape my past. He never loved me. I thought I could be free. Please, believe me." The man sneered, stepping closer. "She belongs to me. Always has."
always will. The father's face hardened.
His chest rose and fell, his fists clenched. He turned to the bride, his voice shaking with rage and pain.
Is this true? Did you lie to me from the beginning? Her sobs grew louder. I didn't want to hurt you. I only wanted a new life. The hall was chaos. Guests shouted, some demanded the ceremony end immediately, others argued.
The bride begged, the boy stood frozen, and the father's world shattered before everyone's eyes.
And then, silence fell again. The father raised his hand, silencing the noise.
His voice was sharp, filled with fury.
This wedding is over. The guests gasped one final time.
The bride collapsed completely, her body shaking as she wept. The man at the back gave a cold smile, almost satisfied. The boy stood there, his heart heavy. He had wanted to protect his father. He had wanted to reveal the truth. But now, seeing the pain on his father's face, he wondered if he had done the right thing or if he had just broken his family forever. The bride's whispers echoed in the silence. I love you. I love you. I'm sorry. But no one listened anymore. The damage was done. And yet, deep in the boy's heart, he felt something unsettled. The man's cold smile, the bride's desperate fear, it was not over.
This was not just a broken wedding.
This was the beginning of something much darker. The wedding hall was nearly empty now.
Guests had left in confusion, their whispers still echoing in the air like ghosts.
Flowers lay crushed on the floor, chairs overturned, the once beautiful space now broken by truth and betrayal. The boy stood near the doors, watching as his father walked away without a word.
His strong figure seemed smaller, weighed down by heartbreak. The bride was left kneeling on the floor, her white dress stained with tears.
The stranger, the man who had claimed her, had already vanished, leaving only questions behind. The boy's chest ached. He had wanted to protect his father, but seeing him walk away like that tore at his heart.
The image of his father's face, anger, confusion, pain, burned into his memory. But something inside the boy whispered, this isn't over. There's more. She's hiding something bigger. He glanced at the bride.
She had her face buried in her hands, sobbing quietly. She looked broken, but not only from shame.
There was fear in her trembling body, fear that didn't make sense. Fear of what? The truth was already out. Why would she still be afraid? The boy stepped closer. His voice was low but steady. Who is he?
The bride lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were red and swollen, her makeup smeared. She stared at him for a long time before whispering, someone I can never escape.
The boy frowned. But you're married to him? Her body shook. Yes.
But it was not a marriage of love.
It was a prison. I thought I had broken free. I thought if I stayed silent, I could build a new life. But he found me, he always finds me. The boy's breath caught. Prison.
Her words carried a weight that made sense of her fear. She hadn't just lied for selfish reasons.
She had been running. But running from what? He clenched his fists. He wanted answers, not broken pieces of truth. Why didn't you tell my father? He would have helped you.
Tears streamed down her cheeks.
I was afraid. Afraid he would think I was weak. Afraid he would send me away.
And worse, afraid of what that man would do if I spoke.
The boy's mind raced.
This was more than betrayal.
This was danger.
His instincts screamed that the man was not just a jealous husband, he was something darker.
That night, after leaving the broken wedding hall, the boy could not sleep. His father stayed locked in his study, refusing to speak to anyone.
The house felt cold, heavy with silence.
The boy sat near the window, staring at the moon. His thoughts churned. The letter. The man's words. The bride's fear. Nothing felt complete.
There was more hidden beneath the surface.
He made a decision. If no one else would search for the truth, he would.
The next morning, while the house was still quiet, he slipped out. He went to the market where servants often gathered to gossip. He listened carefully, blending in with the crowd. It did not take long. People were already whispering about the ruined wedding, about the bride's secret husband. But then, he heard something else. A name. The man's name. And with it, a story that made his blood run cold. The man was no ordinary husband. He was known for his wealth, his cruelty, and his control over people. Rumors spoke of women who had disappeared after marrying him, of families destroyed by his power. Some said he dealt in dark business, things whispered but never spoken openly. The boy's heart pounded as he pieced it together. The bride had not just been unfaithful. She had been trapped. Trapped by a man who would rather see her ruined than free. He returned home, his mind heavy with what he had learned. He found her in the guest room, sitting silently, her eyes hollow. "You should have told us," he said firmly. She looked at him, her voice broken. "Would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was only making excuses?" The boy hesitated. He remembered the shock of the letter, the anger in his father's eyes. Maybe she was right. Maybe no one would have believed her. Still, he pressed on. "If you don't tell him the full truth now, he will never forgive you. And that man will keep coming back." Her shoulders shook. She whispered, "He doesn't just want me. He wants control. He wants power. And your father stood in his way. That's why he came. Not only to take me back, but to destroy him too." The boy froze. The truth struck like lightning. This wasn't only about marriage. This was about revenge. That explained everything, the timing, the threats, the fear. His father had unknowingly stepped into a war he didn't even see. The boy's jaw tightened. His father was broken now, too blinded by betrayal to see the bigger danger. If someone didn't act, if someone didn't uncover the full truth, his father's life, and maybe theirs, would fall apart completely. That night, as silence filled the house again, the boy whispered to himself, "I'll find out everything. I'll protect him. No matter what it takes." Outside, in the shadows of the street, a figure stood watching the house. The same man. His scarred face hidden beneath the hood, his eyes cold and sharp. He waited silently, like a predator stalking its prey. The bride's secret was not fully revealed yet. The boy had uncovered pieces, but the full truth, the dangerous truth, was still hidden. And the man was not finished. Not yet. The house was heavy with silence. Since the ruined wedding, the father had locked himself in his study, refusing food, refusing words, refusing comfort. The bride stayed in the guest room, pale and broken, afraid to face him. And the boy moved through the halls like a restless ghost, unable to bear the weight pressing down on everyone. He could not let it end like this. His father deserved the truth, not the half-broken pieces, not the whispers, not the shame. He deserved to know everything. That evening, the boy stood outside the study door. He knocked softly. "Father, please. You need to hear me." There was no answer. Only the crackle of a dying fire inside. The boy's jaw tightened. He pushed the door open. The room was dim, lit only by the fire's faint glow. His father sat in a chair, his shoulders slumped, a glass untouched on the table beside him. He looked older, weaker, like the life had been drained out of him. "Leave me alone," his father said, his voice hoarse. But the boy stepped inside. "No. Not until you listen." The father turned slowly, his eyes bloodshot. "You destroyed my wedding. You exposed me to shame in front of everyone. And now you want me to listen?" The boy's heart stung at the words, but he stood firm. "I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it to save you. She's not what you think she is, but not for the reasons you believe." His father let out a bitter laugh. "She's married to another man. That's all I need to know." "No," the boy said firmly. "That man, he's dangerous. She wasn't with him by choice. He trapped her. She was trying to escape." The father's face tightened, but he shook his head. "You're making excuses for her lies." The boy's voice rose, filled with urgency.
"I heard it from the people in town. He's cruel. He destroys families."
"She wasn't lying to hurt you, she was lying to survive." The father's hand slammed against the table.
"Enough!" The sound echoed through the room.
His eyes burned with pain. "She should have trusted me. She should have told me before I stood in front of everyone, believing her lies. If she loved me, she would have spoken the truth." The boy hesitated, his throat tight. His father's pain was raw, but he couldn't stop now. "She was afraid, father. Afraid of him, afraid of losing you. Afraid of everything.
And now he won't stop. He's already watching us."
The father's eyes snapped toward him. "What did you say?" The boy swallowed. "Last night, I saw him near the house."
"He's not gone. He's waiting."
Silence filled the room, broken only by the fire's crackle. The father's expression shifted. Anger still burned, but now fear and realization crept in. Before either could speak again, a soft knock came at the door.
The bride's voice, trembling, broke the silence. "Please, let me in."
The father's jaw clenched.
He did not answer.
But the boy moved quickly, opening the door. The bride stepped inside, her hands shaking, her face pale as snow. She looked at the father with tearful eyes.
"I know you hate me. I know I destroyed your trust. But I cannot hide anymore."
The father turned away, staring into the fire.
"Then speak."
Her knees gave out, and she sank to the floor. Her voice cracked with each word. "I was forced into that marriage. He wanted my family's wealth, my obedience. I was nothing but his possession. I tried to run, but he always found me. I thought if I kept quiet, if I built a new life here, he would give up.
But he never will.
He came to destroy us because I dared to choose happiness without him." Tears streamed down her face.
"I love you.
Every word I ever spoke to you was true. But I was too afraid to confess the past.
And for that, I have broken everything."
The boy's father's hands trembled as he gripped the arms of his chair. His face was stone, but his eyes glistened with conflict. The boy stepped closer. "Father, listen to her. She's telling the truth. This isn't only about love, it's about survival. If you turn away now, he wins. If you give up on her, he will take everything." The father's chest rose and fell heavily. His eyes finally met hers. For a moment, silence stretched between them, a silence thick with pain, betrayal, and longing. "I don't know if I can forgive you," he whispered. Her body shook. "I don't ask for forgiveness. I only beg for a chance to prove myself. And to protect you from him." The boy's heart twisted. He looked at his father, then at her. The room felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for a decision that could change everything. But before an answer could come, a sharp sound echoed from outside, a crash, like glass breaking. All three froze. The boy ran to the window. His breath caught. In the shadows of the garden, figures moved. Not one, but several. Dark shapes creeping closer, silent as predators. His voice cracked. "Father, they're here." The father rose to his feet at once, his pain replaced by steel. The bride gasped, her hands clutching her dress. The boy turned back, his eyes wide with fear but also determination. "It's him. He's come back." And this time, he didn't come alone. The firelight flickered across their faces, faces filled with fear, anger, and a storm of emotions. The wedding was ruined, the truth was half revealed, but the real danger was only now at their door. And none of them were ready for what was coming. The night outside was no longer quiet. The sound of heavy boots crunched against gravel, and low voices whispered in the darkness. The boy's heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst. He turned to his father and the bride, his voice sharp with fear. "They're here. What do we do?" The father's eyes blazed for the first time in days. All the weakness, the shame, the heartbreak swept aside by something older and stronger.
A man protecting his home.
He reached into the drawer of his desk and pulled out a heavy iron rod he once used for repairs. His voice was calm but firm.
We do not run. We face them.
The bride clutched the back of a chair, her body trembling.
You don't understand. He will not stop.
He came to destroy me, and now he will destroy you. The father turned to her, his face hard, but his voice softer than before.
Then let him try. He will not take what is mine.
The boy felt courage rise inside him. For the first time, he saw his father not broken, not humiliated, but strong. He stepped forward. I'll stand with you. The father looked at him, pride and fear battling in his eyes.
Stay behind me.
But if the chance comes, protect her. Before the boy could answer, the front door shook violently.
A loud bang echoed through the hall, followed by another. They were trying to break in.
The bride gasped, tears spilling down her cheeks.
It's him.
He always comes like this, loud, merciless. He wants to frighten before he strikes. The father raised the iron rod, his stance unshakable. He picked the wrong house this time. With a final crash, the door burst open. Shadows filled the entry, and then the man himself stepped forward. Tall, broad, his face twisted with arrogance. Behind him, two others loomed like silent guards. The boy's breath caught. The man's eyes locked on the bride, a cruel smile stretching across his face. There you are, he said slowly.
Did you think you could run forever? Did you think this fool could protect you? His gaze slid to the father, mocking. You thought you were marrying a wife. What you were really buying was my property. The father's grip tightened on the iron rod.
She is not yours.
Not now. Not ever. The man laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the broken doorway. Do you think you can fight me? You're nothing.
But before he could take another step, the boy's voice cut through the air, loud and fierce.
She doesn't belong to you. She belongs to no one but herself.
The man's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer, towering over them.
You've been whispering in her ear, haven't you?
Filling her head with lies.
But I know her. I own her. She will come back to me.
The bride's body shook, but she lifted her chin. Her voice cracked, yet it carried strength.
No. You never owned me.
You caged me, you broke me, but you never owned me.
And I will never go back. For a heartbeat, silence filled the room. Then rage consumed the man's face.
He lunged forward. The father swung the iron rod with all his strength.
It struck the man's shoulder, knocking him back. The room exploded into chaos.
The two guards rushed forward, but the boy grabbed a chair and shoved it in their path.
Wood splintered, shouts filled the air.
It was not a graceful fight.
It was desperate, raw, and brutal. The father, though older, fought like a man who refused to lose his family again.
The boy, smaller but fast, darted and struck whenever he could. And the bride, though terrified, screamed and hurled whatever she could find to slow them down. Finally, after what felt like endless minutes, the man stumbled, clutching his arm where the iron rod had struck again. His face twisted with hate, but his voice shook with fury.
This isn't over. You'll regret crossing me.
He spat on the floor and motioned to his men. They backed away, disappearing into the night.
The house was a wreck.
Furniture broken, glass shattered, the door hanging off its hinges. But inside, the three of them stood together, battered, breathless, but unbroken. The bride sank to her knees, sobbing.
I'm so sorry. I brought this danger to your home. I destroyed your peace. The father dropped the iron rod and knelt beside her.
For the first time since the wedding, his hand reached out and touched hers. His voice was heavy with emotion.
You should have told me.
You should have trusted me.
But now I see, you were only trying to protect me. I was blind to your fear.
Her eyes met his, shining with tears.
Can you ever forgive me?
The father's chest rose and fell, his eyes softening.
After a long pause, he whispered, I don't know how to forget. But I can try to forgive. Because I still love you. The boy stood quietly, watching them. Relief flooded his chest, but so did pride. His father's pain was not gone, but the wall between them was breaking. The bride turned to the boy, tears still running. You were braver than both of us. You stood up when no one else would. You saved me, and him. The father looked at his son, his eyes heavy but warm. You are no longer a child in my eyes. You're the reason we're still standing.
For the first time in what felt like forever, the boy allowed himself to breathe deeply.
The storm had passed, though scars would remain.
The three of them sat together in the broken house as dawn began to rise outside. The first light spilled through the cracked doorway, painting the floor with gold.
The future would not be easy.
The man might return, the past might never fully fade, but they were not alone anymore. They had faced the darkness and survived. The boy looked at his father and the bride, his voice steady. We will protect each other.
No matter what comes.
And for the first time, they all believed it.